Sounds good.
All right. The interns are kicking this off, everyone. Welcome back to Carpets and Coffee. Eric will be joining us shortly. He's a man of many hats, many talents, and he's a busy guy, as you all know. So he's going to pop in when it suits him, which is quite Charlie Sheen of him. Actually, it's kind of cool. It works for him, you know. Well, you know, he comes in, his hair's combed, he's got a nice button up, his glasses, his AirPods. He's like, man, check me out, you know? I'm like, shoot, look at this classy man.
Also, I don't think I've thought about Charlie Sheen in a few years. That was a good one.
Tiger Blood. Yeah. Tiger Blood.
Winning.
Charlie Sheen used to donate to the Santa Barbara Zoo. He might still do so. Every year. He was a big donor, named some flamingos and penguins and stuff like that. And we'd see him like driving on the back. No, we never had tigers.
Keep him away from the tiger.
Yeah, we didn't have tigers, so no issues there. But yeah, I'd see him dressed in all black, wearing a hat and dark shades, like being whisked away in a golf cart in the back. I'm like, I see you.
That's awesome. That reminds me, I saw on Facebook last week, my old boss at the vivarium said that Nicolas Cage used to be a customer when he lived in San Francisco.
Yeah, isn't that where he got that water monitor from that he had?
I didn't even know he had one. That's awesome.
Oh, he had a water monitor for years, and then I think he just surrendered it to LA Zoo or some zoo or something a couple years ago. So,
well, that would have been crazy working and seeing Nick Cage walk in. Protect your declarations of independence.
Yeah, shoot, serious. Jonathan Barris's cute matching cups.
Oh yeah, you too could be cute. Yeah, match with us.
This is available in the NPR Network Teespring store.
It actually makes your coffee taste better too. You got to try it to find out.
So I'm actually drinking a new bean, a new roast. I ran out of my Pete's coffee, and Rachel and I are doing this this grocery delivery thing now through this company called Imperfect Produce, but it's not just produce. Yeah. It's like overstock, things that are like they look different, or like broken stocks on things or whatever. And so they had this. I had to take a photo of it just so I could remember what it is, but it looks like that.
Equal Exchange. Nice.
Yeah. Equal Exchange coffee. Yeah. And this one's more of a medium roast, organic mind, body, and soul. Blend of medium and Vienna roast, smooth and creamy with chocolate notes.
Damn, you do have the radio voice. You're made for podcasting.
Smooth and creamy.
That's awesome. Well done. Well, for me, I'm doing that blue bottle light.
Yeah. Light, huh?
I like all the roasts, but I've been doing dark pretty consistently, so I'm trying to mix it up. Get some light roast, a little bit more fruity, acidic, you know.
Yeah, I feel you. If I go too long drinking straight dark roast like every day, I need like a serious break from coffee.
It's a lot. That's that.
You know
jet fuel.
Yeah, it can wreck you if you have too much of it consistently. You know what I had the other day was a Starbucks Nitro cold brew. It's the first time I've been to Starbucks in forever, and was going through with my coworker, and I was like, "What do I get?" I don't go to this place. She's like, so I just tried something on the screen there, and I was like, hey, this is not bad. So I'm not used to drinking coffee cold, but it was delicious, and it was fluffy and oxygenated. Hey, Brandon's in the house. Good morning,
what's up, Brandon? I'm a fan of the cold brew, and that nitro, I don't know, it does cream it up a bit, huh?
Yeah, it made it like
without milk.
Lighter, which is good, because I'm finding out the older I get, the more lactose intolerant I seem to be.
I've been that way forever, so I feel you.
And I imagine with the heat that will be coming this summer, maybe a nitro cold brew will be just the ticket, because Sacramento's 105-degree weather will be back before I know it.
That's right. Yeah, we can do an episode where we all go out and snag one of those before we hop on.
Yeah, and then we'll all just sit here and complain about the heat. And Eric will be like, "Oh, it's not so bad over here," and you'll be like, "It's not so bad over here," and I'm like, "I'm dying."
Yeah, thank God for this big old bay over here that sucks up all the heat, retains the cold, I guess technically.
I'm right in a valley, so I get wind, I get allergy, I get extreme heat. It's
Sacramento is kind of a brutal little spot. Like
Yeah,
historically, you
weather-wise,
get the floods too. It's like,
yes, flooding is real. Flooding is
yeah.
real. So,
Well, on the
um,
snake front, you got a
yeah,
pretty cool clutch
yeah,
yesterday, right?
yep, yeah.
That's
So that was
awesome.
the first clutch of the season. That's a repeat pairing from 2019. So I got these snakes as red neonates from Dan Maleri. He imported them from his farm that he uses over in Indo, and a bunch of us went in on a group, and I raised them up, paired two of them in 2019. I think it was 9 eggs, and it was 7.2. It was ridiculously male heavy. Gave
Yeah.
her last year off, and then bred her this year, and she produced 10 eggs and 1 slug, so 2 follicles greater in size. And I don't know. I mean, I've filmed it, and I'll be editing the video today for my YouTube channel for Wednesday, and you'll see it there because I literally like discovering. So you'll see my genuine like reaction and assessment of it.
Mm-hmm.
And after I've been thinking about it, I kind of downplayed it, but it wasn't perfect. And I'm not talking about the slug. I'm talking about mom. I noticed, she had an irregularity in her spine and kind of on the sides of her.
Right.
And kind of moved her around, let her move, touched a few spots on her, did some thinking, talked to some people, went back and looked at her, took some more photos, did some thinking, talked to some more people. I've talked to former vet techs and other, carpet folks. I've talked to Nick, and nobody seems to have seen or heard of anything similar to this. I mean, I don't
Really
think.
interesting.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
nobody's ever seen anything like it. I thought for sure, maybe Nick would have seen it or heard of it or something like that in all of his years. But
somewhere along the way.
yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but you can see just kind of how
it's just
weird the contour on the skin there coming up the flanks, and there's like a lump on her back.
Something's out of whack for sure.
And I had taken that hide out in anticipation of her dropping eggs soon because it's heavy. I felt it would constrict her ability to lay, so I took that out and gave her a bunch of sphagnum moss, and she didn't like that. She didn't like being exposed, so she went under the paper. So she had tons of room around and above her. So it's not like she was confined by space, but yeah, after pulling her off the eggs, there's a spot in pretty much the middle of her back where, like, if I hold her, and you know how you hold a snake like this, they kind of just have this drape.
Right.
Hers would stay rigid, like this opposite contour arch there. And there's a spot on her spine where it feels like there's a knuckle on it. And then on the sides, it almost feels like there's a couple broken ribs or something. And I have no idea how that could have happened.
Yeah.
And while we're in the green room, I just look at her and checked on her for the first time this morning. And the back half of her, she's like trying to twist and wrap a clutch, but not what normal, sort of that phantom clutch behavior looks like, where they're in a circle and their whole body's doing it. Her whole back half was just kind of like pretzeled up in this weird thing. And dude, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's like a nerves thing or something broke and she's just in pain and that's just how it's manifesting, or but
brutal. Yeah. I'm surprised too to hear that especially Nick hasn't experienced something like that with his, thousands of clutches or whatever.
Yeah.
Really
and this
makes
is
me wonder, if it is directly related to laying that clutch, or maybe there was a pre-existing thing that got exacerbated from the eggs,
right. So there's a lot of things that go through my head on it. First of all, it's not her first clutch. So she produced a clutch 2 years ago. It was 2 ovum smaller, but she's also had 2 years since then to put on more mass. In all honesty, when I saw her on her clutch, I was like, wow, that's a small clutch. It looked like there was a lot more of her loosely around compared to the egg mass in there. And
right.
And so, yeah, I was like, oh, this will be fine. Small clutch, whatever. She's a small female. She's under 5 feet. You know what I mean? So I don't know what happened. We'll see, you know, if she takes food. I've got a meal pulled out for her thawing today, so I'll see if she wants to eat today. Um, and I might try and get her into Madison Avenue Veterinary Clinic out here in Fair Oaks. They have some excellent exotics vets on staff that deal with snakes regularly. So I might finally go out there and see if they can see anything on X-ray.
Yeah.
If it's just a spinal irregularity that needs to heal, if it's broken ribs that need to heal, and if it's going to be some permanent, like, you know, thing for her where her back is always a little wonky and she always has this weird thing, you know, then the question comes into play. Was it the breeding that did this, or was it a congenital issue underlying that was exacerbated by the calcium devotion? We all know that these animals put on a lot of weight and stock up on resources for egg development, and the body produces the calcium from, you know, those fat stores. And if they don't have enough calcium deposits, then the body will grab calcium from wherever it's available, and then they start going to the places where you don't want it pulled from, i.e. the skeletal structure, and it weakens bones. And so the only thing I could think of is her body tried to produce 11 eggs, and it just wasn't enough to go that distance, and pulled some calcium out of a weak spot in her back or something. I don't know. I really like, everything's all speculation up to this point.
In theory,
you know,
though, that makes a lot of sense. And then just maybe something about the contractions and the motion of getting those eggs out. You know, if the spine was already weakened, maybe it just got tweaked the wrong way. You know, some kind of stress fracture or something that maybe is swollen up. I don't know.
It could have even just been me, you know, gently pulling her tail around and undoing the eggs that did it if there was a weak point. And it makes me think about how much of a focus that is for monitor breeders. So a lot of monitor breeders are very aware of how much calcium their animals are eating, because they have such dense, hard-shelled eggs, and it takes a lot out of the females and how they multiple clutch in a season. And I've been doing some digging after pulling that clutch yesterday and looking up things in the world of reptile supplements. And that's another area where there's not a lot of community insight. People just haven't dove into that much. And I did find that after our last stream, somebody reached out and sent me a link to the Da Vinci Boa's video from January, talking about their oral calcium and liquid supplement that they designed for their snakes, and how they've had ball python breeders and folks use it and seen animals kind of get back on food after a fast or a winter much easier. You know, just keeping females healthy after egg deposition. He uses it a lot with his boas. I have to think that there's probably some application to Morelia. I don't think this supplement is, you know, exclusive. So I wrote him a message, and I checked out on their social media, and they've got a new batch of stuff coming in like a week or so. So I'm going to try and get my hands on a bottle of that and start doing some supplementation, at least for the breeders.
Right. No, that sounds like a great thing. And I know Zach has mentioned to me that he adds calcium powder to trout when he's feeding falsies. So it certainly is done. And like you're saying, when they need that heightened level of that nutrient for the eggs, you know, it really seems like it would be a no-brainer to kick that up a little bit when you know that you're leading up to a breeding season.
Just on a biological level, speaking of ins and outs, it makes sense. You know, the female is devoting so much of her physiological self and resources to creating extra and more mass, right? So she's using what she has internally to make this. It's up to us to make sure that we put that back in or help her get that back up. And I obviously, supplementation can't hurt anything unless you're like overdosing heavy amounts of calcium. But
not reptiles, but I know that in largemouth bass in the springtime, they stop gorging on fish and they start gorging on crayfish because they need the calcium from the crayfish exoskeleton for their eggs. So, you know, it's like, it's definitely a thing in nature to get what you need when you need it from your dietary preferences. But it's interesting, you know, you would think that the snake would get a good kick of that from just the skeleton of a rat or a quail or whatever, you know. So I do wonder, you know, how much they need and whether it should be provided just by a whole prey item or what, you know. So
maybe that's where the diversity factor helps things.
Sure.
You know, think of how much keratin is in a bird prey item, in the feathers and the beak and toes and legs stuff. So that's interesting. Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, it's what a lot of people have said to me, you know, because obviously I'm looking for my first clutches this year, but just that idea that breeding your snakes is, quote, like the most dangerous thing you can do to them. You know, it's I guess that's just a reminder that's kind of true and something to think about.
Yeah, it doesn't always go well, you know. Like, I'm still not out of the woods with the Crebo, you know. She hasn't laid that clutch yet, and a whole host of things can go wrong in that. So it's kind of a crummy reminder when it comes in the form of your animals, you know, getting hurt. So we'll find out, you know, as we can, what we can. And fingers
crossed.
Yeah, if she has to be retired, I do have somebody locally who would make an excellent sort of geriatric care home for this animal. She's got a couple other carpets. She really loves Papuans, and yeah, the nice thing is I already have, you know, the first generation of F1s from her. This is a repeat pairing. Excuse me. Totally just had a coffee burp. This is a repeat pairing, so these will again be F1s, but it'll be a second wave of them, which is nice. I always think about when Eric talks about what could have happened if he didn't make responsible choices when breeding poison ivy before she passed. And not that this animal can be compared in the same sentence to poison ivy, but she is very dark.
She is very dark. And he did mention in our chat too, I wish he was here to talk about this, that I think, didn't he say he had seen something similar to your photo of the kink in poison ivy?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned that. So we'll have to...
it would be curious to see like exactly what, because it's been a while since I've talked to him about the poison ivy situation and events in detail. It's always nice to relive that, just to kind of talk about the uniqueness of some of the animals that we've had, and it just kind of brings back a sort of like a human connection to it. Like, you know, breeders keep a lot of these snakes in mass, you know, I do, and we can get quite calloused about animals passing over the long period of time, but certain ones remind us kind of how special they are. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I got 10 good eggs, 1 slug. They're in the incubator. They're looking good. And I'm curious, a couple of the eggs were a little more oblong and large in mass than some of the others. I've never had twins, but I'd be curious to see if I get twins out of those ones.
Yeah, some really big ones, huh? That would be cool.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. So either way, I hope I get, you know, 10 eggs that go the distance, because, you know, this is, so when I did this pairing in 2019, the whole idea behind it was to make some really good, like, new blooded, unrelated to everything else in the United States sort of thing. Just fresh Papuans, and then, you know, put them in the hands of people who would continue that and do the same thing. And so the first wave of them, I didn't sell a single one of them. I gave them to a handful of friends, Tony, Eric, Terrell, Jacob Bratz, Justin Smith. And then I kept 3. There was one other that went out. So I'm hoping that with this clutch, probably won't need to keep much, if anything, and then you know, complete the pair, because I was very male heavy. So I want to send Tony a female. I want to send Eric a female. If Terrell wants a female, I owe him a female to match up with his. But he also said he's kind of switching over and kind of closing his Morelia doors and doing some Collierbird stuff.
What?
Yeah, he's got hognose and black pines and some cool things. So
sweet.
He's had a rough go with the Morelia stuff over the years. Things passing, projects we've been involved on going south, and so
gotcha. Yeah. Corey
Martin asks, were the babies dark last time? Yeah, they were real snappy and real dark. They're coloring up now. I see photos from the folks I've sent them to, and they're starting to get some of that burnt orange coming in. Nice. The 2 females that resulted that I have stayed dark, but yet again, they're definitely putting on. Well, see, now she's looking really light and orange, so I don't know. They're not very friendly though, which is kind of curious, because I shouldn't say all, the majority of my pop ones are really chill. These F1s came out real tense all the time, just like really just like bam every time, just ready to just hit. And they're mellowing out now. Each winter seems to chill them out a little bit more and more, but I don't know if that's just because they're F1s and the parents. So my parents, the parents to those, I got in 2016, January of 2016, or no, March of 2016, as little fresh red neonates, and Dan had imported them from the farm. So their parents were wild caught Papuans that produced on the farm, which would make these things captive hatched. Red neonates, but from wild parents. So then these are the F1s from those founding stocks. So, you know, maybe that relation and that distance from the wild is why they're so defensive and kind of instinctively driven like that.
Totally. Yeah.
I kind of expect this clutch to be the exact same way. So that'll be fun. Little blood donors.
Yeah,
And I'm
curious, as you keep getting more generations of that same line, right? Like if you do notice, like say at F3, it's like, oh, they're all puppy dog tame now. You know, it took that many generations out of the wild for them to.
That'll be sort of an accidental anecdotal thing, because I do plan on pairing a pair of those siblings together once they are ready. The odd thing is, because the female is so dark, the male has his dark and light phases, but he's got some times where he's like fired up, super orange, right? So I have to feel like that's where a lot of the offsprings get some of that color. It's just interesting to see which phenotype sort of dominates. And all the babies, you know, baby IJs, Papuans, whatever, they hatch out red. Right. But there's like varying degrees of red. There's like this blood red. There's like a pale red. There's like a brown red. And then you can start to see this color palette come in. You see the ones that are going to have more of the black and violet lavenders with some yellow and white. And then you can see the ones that are a little more orange and have color right out of the gate. But then they change a ton. So, and then they change after that some more. And speaking of IJs, the man himself.
Were you taking a nap?
Let's get my coffee.
Nice.
Can't have carpets and coffee without coffee.
Yeah, true. He has a point.
Yeah.
Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing good. We were just chatting about Riley's Papuan clutch and
nice.
The state of mama.
Yeah, so dude, Eric, I was checking on her right before the stream. Lucas asked in the green room, and I go to look at her, and you know how after a carpet lays a clutch for the next like day or so, there's still like kind of beehiving, almost that ghost clutch that behavior. It's like her back half was trying to do that, but not her front half, and it was just like pretzeled amongst itself in this unnatural, like she's still trying to squeeze something away, but she's empty. Dude, it's so weird. It's really weird. And I'm starting to think that like somehow in the process of trying to push out these eggs or whatever, because of the calcium use, because there's a bigger clutch than her last one,
Right.
I have to feel like something went wrong and it weakened her skeleton. It feels like there's broken ribs on the side, like they're very tender and loose. And on the top, it feels like there's a knuckle where the spine used to be. I got to get her in for an x-ray, but it looks like she was probably prone to something like this from a congenital aspect, and then the breeding just exacerbated it. But it's scary seeing her like this, man. It's just really weird seeing her all twisted up in this unnatural, like, wrench, like if you took a rope and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
So, and then we were talking about how I got 10 eggs and 1 slug, so it's slightly bigger. And then some of the eggs are like bigger than usual, so maybe that played a role.
Do you think that she's definitely doesn't have anything left in her?
Yeah, I can feel there's nothing left in her. I like, I tried to squeeze her out like a tube of toothpaste. I went down the line, and there's nothing in there. Nothing in there.
Oh shit! Did we start at 1 o'clock? I thought 1:30. That's why I'm looking at the time here, and it's like, wait, 26 minutes. What happened?
It's all good, man. No, you're allowed. You get the forever free pass, Mr.
It just adds to the mystique. You're fashionably late. It's a musician thing. We get it.
Yeah.
We were the opening act. You're the mainstay, and here we are.
You gotta make them wait. You gotta make them wait.
Yeah.
That's a weird one, man. Do you think that so she was farm hatched, right? She was from that Yeah.
So her parents are wild caught IJs that were brought into the farm, produced their clutch, they're captive hatched, imported in, raised up, and the offspring are true F1s. So they're not related to anything granite. They're as true blue wild blood as possible.
Yeah, I guess sometimes these things happen. Like I was telling you, this is sort of what happened with poison ivy. And yeah, that's right, Ryan. Me and Phil. Burke and Wolf. Yeah, she sort of so a couple things happened with her. She was having the first year I had a problem with her. She had a respiratory infection. And I believe that was because the male that I put her with was the tiger IJ that I got from Mike Curtin. And this thing was humongous, it was fed on the old school carpet python diet, so it's just, it was just ginormous. And I think it stressed her out. And ultimately respiratory infection came around. She didn't have a clutch that year. The following year, which was actually wasn't even a following year, come July, I think it was July or August, she started to look like she was gravid. And I remember saying, like, this is so weird that she would have eggs in her in July. Like it just, and she wasn't even with the last male she was with that tiger. So I was confused. I took her to the vet. Here she did have a clutch, and he tried to, she had sort of the same thing, like the back end of her back end of her body was limp. She had like no muscle control. I don't know. It was weird. And then what ultimately he tried to give her, what's that drug that they tried
Oxytocin.
Yeah, I think that's it. It induces her to lay. Yeah. So they gave her that, and then the next day she was dead.
Yeah.
So
Oxytocin is harsh.
I don't know if she died from because the eggs were, he didn't want to push the eggs out because, he was sort of like, and he was kind of stumped that she was having, what do you call it? Issues. I mean, that she was having a clutch, he's like, this is kind of weird for python times.
Her body just totally decided to spontaneously spawn another cycle of eggs.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It was very strange. Another weird thing that, so respiratory infection wise, another weird thing about her is when we did a close inspection of her, her one nostril was almost closed, not because it was blocked by anything, but just because that's just how she was.
It was smaller.
Yeah, I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll have to send it to you guys or whatever. But like you see her one, you know, the one is normal size and the other one is just like barely an opening. So, you know, I would imagine that has to, you know, maybe the stress and the fact that she has basically one nostril. You know what I mean? They don't open mouth breathe. So,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that puts a lot of extra work on the respiratory system.
I think they can, but if they're doing it, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they can pull air in through their glottis, but usually that's when there's a bigger issue. You know, it's interesting because this girl, she's not necessarily limp in the back, but that spinal irregularity is smack in the middle, and the issues seem to be occurring in her back half or at that site location. But we have a female ring python at the shop that at a certain point, like 2/3 of the way down her body, the back end of her tail is just flaccid, limp, floppy, like doesn't shed. She goes to the bathroom just fine. But like if I touch her above that.
What
happened?
React. If I touch her below that line, she doesn't even register it, you know? So it's weird. I've seen that before. I've seen the like partial paralysis beyond a certain point. Another guy locally has that with one of his Woma pythons. So I have seen that, and I have heard of that in monitor lizards in relation to egg production and the size of a clutch internally putting so much pressure that it like pinches a nerve temporarily. I've seen that in monitors, but they usually, you know, once the eggs are out, then it kind of comes back. So I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Huh.
Yeah. Spines are tricky. Spines and nerves.
Yeah.
Bad things can happen.
So and then the other thing I was talking about was, you know, I'm glad I bred her responsibly the first time, kind of how we were talking about with poison ivy. Like, imagine if you hadn't gotten, you know, true blue pure babies out of her, and this will be your second clutch. And so, you know, I'm going to try and get her into a vet and get an x-ray and get some answers. But, you know, if she's got to be retired, that's that. And I've got somebody locally who I could, you know, place her with to be her forever home, who would take really great care of her. And then, you know, I would just have to focus on her offspring. Hopefully this clutch, I get a better gender ratio. And I was telling Lucas that the first go around, I did that pairing specifically to get these offspring, to put them in the hands of the people who would then continue that sort of trend, and, you know, really value that and make sure that there's somewhat of a good, diverse, healthy bloodline of these animals available. And that this second go around is kind of the same thing. In the hopes that at the very least I get enough females to put in the hands of folks like you who have males from that. And then maybe have like 1 or 2 to offer for sale, sort of thing. Because I've got 1.2 from that first clutch. I don't know if I need anything from this one. You know, there's a bigger picture at hand, which is, you know, spreading them out. So if that means, you know, doing the right thing and not keeping any, then that's fine by me. So we'll see what happens. I also have too many freaking snakes. So, dude,
I know that feeling, man.
No such thing. You just don't have enough house.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so here's like, I'm looking at like a completely empty hatchling rack. I'm like, well, that's going to be full in a couple months. That one's going to be full in a couple months. The rest of that's going to be full in a couple months. And then I'm like, shoot, where do I put you? Where do I put you? Where do I put you? Everyone's growing. I'm like, damn it. I need a bigger room.
I've gone completely Aspadites crazy. I'm losing my goddamn mind.
Yeah, man.
Aspadites over tea kettle.
Yeah.
Nothing
wrong with that.
Over bills, apparently.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah, I'm super excited. That's my update. Got a couple more blackheads coming.
Yeah, I have. I got some Cape York spotted pythons from what's his name? He's out there on the east, Dave Estain. So
Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Wait, Dave Haston?
Haston, yeah. I don't know why I call him Hastain. Yeah, I don't know.
You want to say Dave Mustaine?
Yeah, I got
metal on the brain.
Anger 18. Yes.
Oh, that's such a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of what I got in the work. Oh yeah. Then I got the female Ruffy coming from Nick and a total male coming from Nick.
The weather finally is allowing that.
Yeah, I think it's probably maybe going to be next week sometime. I know the spotteds will come Wednesday.
That's awesome. Yeah, you had picked those out a while ago, right? The Ruffy. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah.
I think that means we have clutch mates then. We have sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah. Yep. That's cool.
Although I guess all Ruffies are kind of sisters and
distant related siblings. Are you guys looking to pick anything up this upcoming season? I mean, is there anything on your radar that you know?
Bradley, you go first.
I mean, the collector and the Morelia fanatic in me always has that list that I need to complete until that's done. So that's inlands, that's novas, and that's diamonds. Okay. Diamonds, I don't think I want to get while I'm in this location until I get a house. I want to do them properly, so they're a for later thing. Mm-hmm. I've got my buddy Travis, who might have some success with novas this season. If I need to scratch that itch, I can also hit up Nick. I know there's
Billy Hunt has 2 clutches on the ground.
Billy has some. My buddy Alan locally has some. So I'm not too worried about those not being available. But I do need inlands. I've been saying that for about 3 years now, and I see other people getting them, and it's a constant reminder that I have not made good on that promise to myself. And I don't want to see everybody snatch them all up. But the problem is life keeps getting in the way, and I've got $1,000 to fix my car, and I need new tires, and I got all this crap that I got to do, and it keeps pushing that back. So if this year goes well, that's kind of where my aim is at. But somebody keeps saying, hey man, do you want some gelatins? Do you want some more of this? And I keep going, well, sure. So somebody who's an enabler is going to, throwing snakes my way. I'm just going to keep opening the door and saying, I don't have those. So I do need those. Yes.
You definitely do need gelatins, man. They are fabulous animals. I know.
I literally want everything. I want everything. Every variation in its pure form, localities, if it's here in the States, I want it. Gammon range, Flinders range, I want it all. Imbricata.
I feel your pain, man.
I remain hopeful, relentlessly hopeful that before we pass, we will have those. Those will be in the States in our collection one day.
I hope to be able to tick them 2 off. There's 2 I hope to tick off one day. One would be the Imbricata, and 2 would be an Owen Pelly Python. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Man, that would be fabulous. But I got to tell you, man, I've been going down this rabbit hole of other Australian herps, and holy shit, man, there's so much cool shit out there,
dude.
Man.
All the knobbies, the blue tongues, the Stropharis, everything over there is cool. The water dragons.
Yeah, man. I'm like, oh man, I'm sitting there plotting in my brain. I'm like, I could make this the lizard room and just put cages in here. And it's not like I have kids or anything. And my wife doesn't seem to care yet.
Lucky man.
Yeah, I've seen your backyard. You could put another pop-up. You could throw a slab of concrete down there. You'd be good.
I've thought about it. Thought about making that whole back.
Put a tent over the swimming pool and then make that a building. Just drain the pool.
Man, if my house was like a property in Florida or something, I would definitely have outdoor cages on my property. Have diamond pythons outside. Come on, man. That's just crazy. Sick. Big lace monitors and shit outside. Oh my god.
Yeah, they take the cold no problem. They're good with it.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't get below that, you could treat them like a Bredli, like the thing is with lizards, sometimes they just go to sleep wherever. And if it's going to get colder later, then they're not going to be able to put themselves away. So you got to have a system of like locking them into like a heated box at night. But then you could run that easily with a thermostat and one of those tortoise blanket heater things and dial that in so it stays at like 50, 55 so you don't overdo it. You could absolutely do that with Lacey's. No problem.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Yeah, they're cool, man.
I think the biggest one on my list is the Kimberly Rocks. But what were you gonna say?
Well, I know a guy, so he's getting some eggs. I think you know a guy. I've been spending a lot of time with our lace monitors at work, so that like those things they're different, man. They're like I've worked with water monitor. It's just the way they absorb and respond to the stimuli in their direct environment is very different. They are it's like things are firing upstairs a little bit faster than some of the other monitors. And given their relation to their wild ancestors and the close proximity, they still like there's nothing domestic about even a chill lace monitor. Like it just doesn't seem like, because I've got the big black dragon at work that's a puppy dog. You can reach and give her chest scratches. She leans into it. She's like, oh, this is great. She wants to come out. And if you move your hands like in a quick motion, she doesn't flinch. You go in with the lace monitors, move your hands fast, it kind of flinch. Like, what the hell is that? You know? And if you wiggle your fingers like this, they think those are little bugs. And so the female, you'll see this flip, just like, whoa, and you got to stop real quick. She'll take your fingers off. But they're just different. They react very differently. They're much more akin to croc monitors in their body language with that curling tail when they're upset and kind of how they posture and position, very similar to a lot of they're like a big tree monitor. And, dude, their claws are no joke, man. Even with concrete in the enclosure to file it down, I'm bloody every day just from holding that female. Hers are worse than the males for some reason. So,
that doesn't sound like fun, man.
It's the best. It's the best. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's something about that feeling when you've got a lace monitor in your hand. It doesn't matter how much. I guess it does hurt when they stick a claw like under the cuticles directly in front of your finger. That kind of sucks. Yeah. But dude, they're fun because they climb, so they'll put their back foot in wherever and just. If it gets in your ear or something like that, they climb on your head.
Unfortunately, we did not. When we went to Queensland, we found a dead one, but we didn't find a live one. It was pretty big size too, but it got smashed in the road. It was that's the only sucky thing about Australia, man. It's just the whole you find this perfect animal and it's just dead, and you're just like, we're not allowed to touch it. We can't have them, but cars can just run them over. It's like no big deal.
A rabbit hole the other night, just surfing iNaturalist, looking at all the reports in Australia of Woma and blackhead sightings, and probably like 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 were the smushed ones on the road, and it's like, damn it, man. But it's
serious road mortality.
Yeah, I was just curious, like looking at those wild observations, what the actual difference is in look between the Easterns and the Westerns, and it really is different for the blackheads. It was pretty cool to see the gradient as I worked across, there's like 60 pictures up there or so where you can see.
The interesting thing, if you look on Google Earth and you look at their range and you kind of overlap it with like what the environment looks like as you go west, the color of the sand actually sort of changes, so you can see why they're more like black and white on this side as opposed to on towards the East Coast. It's more of that typical blackhead that we see,
right,
like Woma with a blackhead,
right, yeah,
just like the hybrids at work. We made some last year, and it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, they're growing on me because they're very pretty and orange. It's a Woma body, full on Woma A-frame body, orange belly, Woma banding. Everything's Woma, proportions, length, Woma until you get to the head,
right?
And then it's a blackhead, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Gold, like they have gold chins, you know, so they have that. So, you know, the gold chin stuff is clearly stemming from some intergrade or something in some fashion or another, because we made it first go around. And but they're different, man.
I want to hate them, but they're gorgeous. When I visit the shop and see them, I'm like, oh.
I call them our abomination snakes, and I make fun of them at every moment I can. But then I make sure to say, but they are pretty.
Yeah.
So
there's no doubt about that.
But it's crazy, man, because in the shop I can look at Womas, I can look at blackheads, and then I can look at these hybrids, and I can see traits. They're just, dude, I don't know.
Lomas.
Yeah.
No, I got it. Whackheads.
Whackheads.
Yes.
Whackheads. They're pretty whack. They're whack as hell. Yeah. Those are whackheads.
But in terms of what I want to add, I'm just further and further and further down the Asphodite hole. Like I want to really get deep in some Womo projects. And then now with the 2 blackheads that I'm adding, I just opened a whole bunch of new doors where like now I have a Western. And so I need another Western so that I can make Westerns. You know, I don't want to just cross that. And then Swiss line stuff from Jason, like got to keep doing Swiss stuff. So I guess I have to spend more money on more blackheads too.
Well, you'll be getting some from this year's breeding too. So you'll have a couple babies coming your way at some point.
And which do you like better?
Let me see here. I'm going to try to do the fancy thing where I can show pictures.
Okay.
Ooh, high tech.
Nope. It says add the extension. Can't do it. All right. Well, it's hard because
you want to send me the pictures and I'll put them
sure.
up?
I'll do that real quick. But I don't know that I prefer the like Western thing is super cool, right? Because it's that really usually like thinner banding, the black and white, like a little bit of a smaller snake overall. Like that's awesome. It kind of fills that, even though there is an exanic, it kind of fills that exanic thing without needing to do the morph. Then like for the Eastern thing, like I love the color. So I really just think they're both great in their own right. And there's different ways you could go in terms of selective breeding on both sides. You know, like with the Eastern stuff, I'd love to just intensify color. And bring that out. I guess Roddy calls it like tangerine or yellow jacket is the other one, right? So and then just really refining those bands to be, I guess, thinner, like pinstriped, like the one at your at the shop, Riley. Like she's the best looking in terms of banding as an adult
clean,
that I've ever seen.
Clean pinstripe, even as adult.
Yeah,
no blending.
No, it hasn't gotten that wash at all. That like, you know, almost all blackheads are beautiful as neonates, right? Yeah. But then somewhere around like the 5 or 6 year mark, it looks like somebody put leggings on them and just kind of washed it all out, right? I think Derek has described it that way. But the one at the shop has nothing like that. She's just vibrant, which is why I'm super excited to see the babies. But yeah, there's just something about really, and I'm getting distracted. I'm going to send you these. There's something about
no worries.
Clean banding, just, you know, kind of thin with uniform spacing in between, you know, nothing in between. That really gets it from it's the clean patterning as well as the pigment. So I don't know. I'm definitely getting a lot more obsessed with the Asphodite stuff. Not that I'm like getting away from my love for Brettles pythons or anything like that, but in terms of what I really am obsessed with at the moment is that, and like Womas too. It's just I can't stop looking at blackheads and Womas. Yeah. So I just sent Eric 2 pictures, and maybe we'll pull them up here of the snake. So that's a Swiss line female from Jason Hood. And you can just see like that the banding is so thin.
Especially like
right around there. You know? That's exactly what the girl at GX3 has. It's just that perfect banding. So
she's beautiful too. I love that snake.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And then the Western look is a lot more high black on that one too. So
that's cool.
I'm wondering, you can kind of see there's just some really intense black back going on, but not quite connected enough to look like that tiger stuff that Derek works with, and Riley, that guy that locally.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping maybe that can be brought out. So yeah. Good.
Fabulous.
Cool.
Good things.
And as far as inlands go.
Hey, yeah, look at that. Let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that. So, yeah, for anybody who's interested, we're just going to have a little tangent here. We did finally set up the next tier for the NPR network Patreon support. If you'd like to support, we thus far we've had it as a $5 buy us a cup of coffee sort of tier, and now you can not only buy us a cup of coffee, but you can also donate. The next tier is called the Inland Carpet Python tier. And for $10 a month, what it gets you is the exclusive access to a VIP sort of every other Sunday video chat for an hour that we're going to be doing 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it'll just be a private NPR chat. It'll have Eric, it'll have Owen, Lucas, and myself, assuming, we all can make it that Sunday. It'll be every other Sunday. And it'll just be a private hour for everybody to come in and ask whatever questions, breeding related, husbandry related, or just anecdotal fun stuff or whatever. Sure. And it's just another avenue for people to support, the network, as well as get something out of it. So, not that the ongoing podcasts aren't beneficial for everybody. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say they already benefit greatly and immensely from what you and Owen have built. But this way they can get a little bit more of a VIP, nearly one-on-one sort of experience. Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, willing to, share whatever we can share. And if people have specific questions for breeding, between the four of us, I think we pretty much got it covered in all kind of aspects. But oh wow. Chris already signed up. Chris Sexton. All right, man. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Chris. Yeah, it's great.
The struggle with this stuff is just always trying to figure out like what is valuable to the listeners, and like how can we make something that you're not just giving money to give money, but you're which is awesome, and that's kind of why we did the $5 thing. It's just like, if you want us to help us and support us and whatnot, then that's great. But like I don't know. I just feel like this is our way to give back. From us personally, I know on NPR a lot of times we talk more about the guest, and it should be about the guest. So a lot of times it's like our personal experiences and stuff sometimes get peppered in, but like it always just annoyed me that, when podcasts would, they would talk about, have a guest on, and the listeners tuning into that guest, and it's just the host just continually talking about their stuff. And it's just,
right.
I'm not tuning in to hear you, man. I want to hear them,
Yeah. Yeah. This is basically a way to keep that in its pure essence and still have another option for people. I can tell you personally from experience before really becoming as in-depthly involved as I am now, when I was just a listener 5-6 years ago, just the amount of value that I placed on all of that audio content, whether I knew it was coming or it was something I would go back and listen to, it was just very, very important to me because I felt it helped me grow as a keeper, just understanding other perspectives, where people have come from, where the hobby has come from. And so, as a greenhorn and a listener, there's tons and tons of value in that, right? So yeah. I think it's it might be more difficult for you and Owen to see it from the perspective of somebody who's just a straight listener all these years. But, I think a lot of the times people who put themselves out there like you guys do seem almost unattainable to somebody who's new. Well, this is a way for somebody who's new to maybe bridge that gap in a more personal way without,
right.
without maybe being as vulnerable as they would, say, asking a question in an open forum on Facebook, or, you know, or like when you guys were doing it live and you had the live chat while you were recording, people could chime in. And if it was something relevant or, you know, something that was funny, you guys could bring it up live in the show. Some people may have been too intimidated to bring up a question like that. And, you know, Owen always likes to, you know, kind of break your guys' own balls about, you know, we do this breeding show every year sort of thing, but it's like, but every year, so, you know, every year there's new questions that arise and new people involved in the scene. They maybe haven't gone back. So, you know, this is just another way for people to get a little close grab, a little access, get some questions answered, things like that.
I remember being super, super scared and intimidated to reach out to Eric for the first time after listening to the show for a few years. I was like, hello, Mr. Burke. What's HCQ? I'm a big fan, you know. Like, thanks for all you do. Funny. But it's great. And also just kind of in this ongoing COVID era, it's going to be a great opportunity too, just for community, right? Like we can't all be together right now, but it's just another space where we can be and talk about the thing that we're all passionate about and toss ideas around. And it's gonna be great.
And I throw it out there all the time, but it's just one more way for everybody to acknowledge the work that, you know, you guys have done over the last decade. So there isn't a price you can put on that, if you ask me. So hey, look, I was wondering, my Crebo, the female just shed.
Ooh,
what's that?
She's staring at. That means we've got a month countdown until some more eggs. Yeah,
that's cool,
dude. You want to talk about being nervous? I'm still nervous about that.
Her laying eggs, or
there's a legitimate concern, you know, for females because they don't get as big as males. They need to be a certain size. Like they can have complications if they're too small. And they have kind of harder shelled eggs with more texture. And so I'm just paranoid. I'm treating this whole project like I'm not out of the woods yet. Until I've got babies out and feeding and mom's good, I'm still very nervous, you know?
So, 100%.
But,
it's a very on its own project. You had to buy a whole other incubator. Like that was, you know, there's a lot going on for that project.
You know, I was talking with somebody about that, who's somewhat local, and he's got yellowtail Crebos, and he just got a clutch of yellowtails, and they incubate much cooler, which is why I had to go out and get that incubator, which is much harder than you would think right now. If you guys just try and go look on Amazon or any shops or any online stuff, trying to buy an incubator other than Sea Serpent's Hotbox where they build it to order sort of thing, it's hard to find. So those Exoterra ones or the knockoff brands that are like the little mini fridge that have the cooling feature, good luck finding them. There's like one or two on Amazon, and you have to get it from China. So I need it to cool because these eggs got to be cooked at like 75. So I was talking with somebody about, you know, well, a lot of colubrid breeders, they'll just put the eggs in the box in the snake room and, you know, let them, you know, kind of go at ambient. And I thought about that, and I just know that my room is going to get warmer than that during the day, and I don't want to screw this up.
Colder at night,
one of those Sacramento heat waves could knock that all out.
Don't even, oh man, that's very real out here. So
100%, yeah.
But anyway,
cool.
Oh, fingers crossed though. That's another one talking about what do you want to add this year? Crebo, baby.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I think for me,
big collards.
You know, for my addition is just going to try to be to finally round out the. You know, I've always wanted to do that whole, you know, all the Python thing, and you know, realize that that's going to take like, you know, about like, you know, acres and acres that I don't have right now. But I decided to go the Australian route, and I think the only ones that I have left are blackheads, pygmies, you know, that you can get. That's kind of it, and then I'm kind of there, just waiting for, you know, those gamma range to be produced, stuff like that, you know. But
waiting for things to open up a little bit more. Maybe
well, here's a question.
Maybe after COVID, you know, Australia will see the value in having their export open back up, make a little money.
That would be so sweet.
Man, that would be the dream.
We'll
But
just keep
yeah,
dreaming.
talking about the different kinds of blackheads, though, which do you think you would want to add to check that box off?
Man, that's similar. Well, to be honest, I kind of have. I would like at least a pair of each type of
There you
deal.
go. Yeah.
Let me help you, G. Yeah, I know those retics. Yeah, I think I probably like the westerns a little more. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I lean. But I look at the stuff that you have, that Riley has, that Keith has, and Jason Hood's stock and all that stuff. And I mean, they're just phenomenal animals. So and then there's the I was going to share this picture just because it's so damn cool. Hold on. Let me
Jason's trying for Clutch of Albinos this year, which would be interesting. Oh, that one is just unbelievable.
Come on, things are stupid.
I will sell my kidneys for you, Snake.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
That's nuts. So this guy locally to me, Joaquin, he produced that, and he's got two, assumingly normal looking blackheads that clearly have something going on underneath, because he's talked to Jason, he's talked to Derek about this stuff. So he's keeping the 4 babies that resulted out of that, and he's going to try and work that in further. But goddamn, that thing looks like a freaking Boland's python.
That is one of the nicest, I guess Roddy calls them tigers, that I've ever seen. I mean, that black back is just unbelievable, and it's so broad. It's more than a stripe; it's the entire top of the snake.
It's like the whole snake is black.
Yeah.
Somewhere I have a picture of I used to have a blackhead, and it was I have to give props to Derek. Right, it was like I bought a bunch of. I bought some of his Atherton stuff. I bought some of his New Guinea stuff. So I spent a pretty nice amount of money with them, and I was on the fence, and at the time, I was sort of just up and coming or whatever. And, I had said to him, I'm really interested in blackheads, but, I want to learn more about them before I pull the trigger, and And he, talking to him for hours on the phone, he's just, nah, man, you can keep carpets. Blackheads are, just, you'll be fine.
Right.
And he's like, listen, man, I'm going to send you something, but if you don't want it, then send it back. But if you want it, it was, you'll see when it gets there. So I get there and I open up this bag, and it's a black-headed python, and he named it Merlin. It was this picky eater, and he had a hard time getting it going. And I guess it was one of those things, like, you feel funny about selling it. You know what I mean? Like one of those type of snakes. And he sent it off, and man, I fell in love with that snake. I was like, man, this is so cool. But he had more of a dirty back, not like how black that back is, but it still was like I was like a poor man's tiger or black back or whatever you want to call it. But man, what an awesome species. And he did eat a couple bearded dragons. I know some people might be mad at that, but that's kind of what they kind of eat in the wild. And it was the beardy, was not alive or anything, but it was pretty neat to see a python taking down a
natural
lizard,
prey item. That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
100%. Yeah.
Makes me think of the photo Lucas shared not too long ago in the chat of that Woma eating a freaking sand monitor. That thing was badass.
Oh man, yeah. I mean,
I can't wait. Actually,
do you see yourself? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I forgot. This year I'll probably be adding Womas.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, that one at the shop is unreal. That girl.
Yeah, we should have 2 clutches. So,
man, I might have to. I might have to hit your boss up and see what's what, because I got that female from Keith. That's just man, holy shit, that thing is nice.
We can definitely make that work for you. No problem. That's easy.
But so I don't know. It's always this time of year is always fun, thinking about what you're going to add, and everybody's going to have snake stimulus money.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, mine's going to go to fixing my freaking car. God damn it. Who needs cars anyway?
I'll walk to work.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like as a full-time student right now, I really should use that money for more intelligent decisions, but it's like so pretty.
Yeah, but those things are part of your studies in your program, so
yeah, exactly.
that is relevant.
I'll design a study around Aspidites.
That is true.
I've been thinking about it, like, hey, everybody here, nobody tell anybody. This is a secret just for Carpets and Coffee. But in the long run, like after I graduate, like I want to, if nobody's done it by then, I want to write the book on Aspidites. I want to write a book. I want to do the complete Aspidites. Damn it. Why not?
Nice. Needs to be done, man.
Yeah. I like started the Google Doc and made a table of contents. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. It might take a few years, but I'm just going to do it. Cause
good
that
for
sounds
you, man.
Fun.
Nice.
Yeah. I think at one point Derek had flirted with the idea of doing something like that, but it never came to fruition. But definitely something that's needed.
I think in one of the episodes, I remember him mentioning that and saying, nobody reads books anymore anyway.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Look, dude, I find myself reading more and more books as I get older.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Even if I'm the only one that, if nobody say I actually do this and it goes well, and 3 or 4 years from now, I'm like, look, I did it, and nobody cares. Like, hey, I'll have it. I can print it out for friends, whatever.
Hell yeah, man. I'm sure people will care, man. That's a cool group.
It's just a thought.
People like to collect them too. Like collecting the complete series of books from Eco Publisher is also a thing too. So there's value in that.
Yeah. Just a little thought, baby. We'll see what happens.
See, my thing is going to take me years and years and years, and I already have sort of the thing. But I was always, I'm fascinated by. I was talking to Justin Smith about this a couple days ago, but he does this for Baird's rat snakes, right? He has like all these different localities and pictures and all this stuff. And, and when you sort of like look at it in this range, you see how they kind of change and stuff like that. But I want to do that for carpet. So like what is the Adventures in Green Tree Python Country or Green Tree Country or whatever it's called. I want to do that, but carpet country, same type of idea where you're just sort of traveling around. You tell these stories. You find these different, what do you call it? Like different carpets, localities that people talk about, like Coffs Harbor, where you have the diamonds and the coastals sort of integrating together and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know, just to see that stuff, seeing a gamma range carpet with your own eyes, or, looking at that kind of stuff and seeing those things, those localities that we have, Port Douglas, Palmerston, all those things, so,
that's
I don't know.
Yeah,
I would like it. Maybe geeky carpet people will like it too. But
absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah. We got to
that would be cool.
Got to get down there and make a little mini film too, just a little documentary.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was thinking about that right as I was driving. So I ran to the store. I come back, and as I'm driving back, I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm thinking, and I'm like, I said, man, if this Patreon thing gets going and whatnot, and we have this money where we can travel and do these, man, how cool would it be to have like legit documentary style videos about Australian reptiles and seeing them in the wild, and oh man.
That's exactly what I envision, like us being able to do with this. So for everybody who's been on the fence about like what does the Patreon money go to, for a lot of, like, I think a lot of people know that Patreon goes to good causes, right? And they get stuff out of it. But like, we could potentially use that money to put out even more content for everybody. Like, like traveling, like, even simply just Lucas and I going to visit Eric and Owen's collection and filming that, or, filming the various carpet fests, or the herping trips that we can go on as a result of it. We're just going to pretend Eric didn't just pop out and pop back in.
Right? He did a Houdini.
No one will notice in the audio, but in the video, they'll be like, what the hell? So that money can help, help pay for us making more content for you. I think that would be awesome to be able to document you know, Australia trips, herping trips, species found, species not found, just looking at the environment. You know, what I really love about Zilla's Beyond the Glass series is that Mike Clarkson, when he goes there, he takes a lot of data and shows it. He shows what the UV index is. He shows these temperatures. He shows the habitat, where he's finding the snake and what it's experiencing. And I stocked up on that gear before our Australia trip. I have a whole thing that can, you know, just read the ambient stuff. And I've got a buddy who's got a UV meter locally who I can borrow to bring on a trip like that. So I would absolutely love to go out and just film, like, hey, these are, you know, whatever you find, you just film it. Kind of like NKF herping videos, you know, but in Australia.
Yeah. How cool would that be, you know, to find a carpet or a blackhead or whatever, and be able to say it is this temperature, you know, the weather is this, it was hiding under, you know, like all that data. It's awesome. Yeah.
And then the other thing too is, like, the benefit of video format is you can get some of the nuances that you get from conversation. Like when you're describing a habitat, you can describe how it feels and show it. And so you can really put into words what people are seeing and kind of add that extra layer. I personally love seeing videos where people are, if they're showing a species that I'm interested, they spend some time, you know, focusing on the environment, what it looks like and where it's found and some of those things, and just 100%. Talking about that, because you can see it and see that it's lush and see that it's green and see that it's dense. But what does that feel like? What is, you know, are you sweating? Are you sticky? Are you dry? Is it cold? Is it chilly? Is there breeze? Like all these different things. Is the air thin because of elevation? Like all that stuff. You can only get so much. So I think it'd be so cool. So cool.
And then the other part of it
like crowdfunded herping.
Yeah. And the other part of it is like, with the more people that are doing more naturalistic type of enclosures, this will give them inspiration to sort of like really nail down what they're seeing as far as, you know, where that species is and what it's doing, to try to, you know, if you're keeping one of those reptiles, you know, that you can sort of see some of those habits and behaviors that maybe will be unlocked if you have certain stimulation to sort of get it going, you know?
Agreed, 100%.
We got to go to Australia Zoo and find the Irwins too.
I think Eric should spend some of that later on an export permit or an import permit, Craig, because I would quite enjoy getting some of your IJs for sure.
Go to Australia Zoo and tackle Robert Irwin. We're your biggest fan. We love your continent. We love your country. Your dad was a hero.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. They'll love that. There's no security.
Why are you yelling at me? I don't know.
I'm American. We yell.
This is what we do.
Pop one too. You know, 100%. I would love to get there. And when we were in Queensland, man, it was I saw it up on the thing. It was like, it was right there. You know, Rocky. And I was like, man, that would be badass to go there. You know,
I think it'd be good. It would be really cool to go out there with Dan Maleri or Ari or somebody who's already been out there and is kind of seasoned out in that area. That would be really cool to experience.
I'd be a bit gun shy if it wasn't with somebody that was a little seasoned, you know?
Yeah. I would. Yeah, I'm definitely with, you know, me and Keith talk about it all the time, you know, like we would stick out like sore thumbs and probably get robbed and our kidneys stolen. But, yeah, I you know,
that's why you have to sell the kidneys for blackheads first. They can't be stolen.
I don't have any.
Good luck.
Get it tattooed on here. Kidneys gone. Blackheads purchased.
Yeah, you know, even so carpets and coffee and our carpets cliff notes. I get them so confused anymore. There's so many. But the next episode is on the Nova Guinea carpets, and like I would love to sort of. I'm sure that Nick and Justin are sort of working on genetics and what it actually is and all that kind of stuff. But I would love to be able to possibly see them in the wild and sort of like, you know what I mean? There's so many of these like little carpet mysteries that are there that, you know, I would love to sort of maybe delve into it from the wild point of view, you know, rather than the captive point of view.
Boots on the ground in the field. There's no better way.
Yeah.
Dude, can you imagine like going to Papua and just living out of your backpack for like 2 weeks and just setting up camp somewhere with like your local buddy who's coordinating it all, or Daimler, you know, and just like, what are you doing today? I don't know. I'm gonna go catch lunch and take a nap, and then you know, go herping at night.
To me, that's like the ultimate vacation, right?
Yeah.
Because like there's some kind of like I don't know if it's like getting older or what it is, but like there's this little thing that's in the back of my brain that like when I'm in nature, it sort of like calms something in me. Like you know, I don't know what that is, but like I would love to just be out in the bush, if you will, just, you know, in a tent or a sleeping bag, and you know, living off the land, and you know,
escaping the 5G rays.
Yeah.
Get off the grid.
Yeah, man. When I was a kid, my mom took us to Costa Rica on 2 separate occasions. One when I was 8, and the other when I was like 10. And there's something about being almost lost but not lost. Like there's a structure where you sleep, and there's a road that gets there, and there's an airport that got you to that road, but otherwise you're sleeping on this, you know, mattress in this little, you know, building on the side of a mountain with no windows but just open holes in the wall, and you just sleep in a mosquito net, and you go walk out, and there's the beach right there. There's, you know, squirrel monkeys and spider monkeys, and there's like this. Dude, I distinctly remember walking barefoot in this like 2 inches of sand and mangrove water in this like rainforest in Costa Rica while these howler monkeys yelled at me and threw shit at me and followed me. And I just walked around looking for iguanas and toads and sloths and whatever I could find. And just, you know, as a kid, just like, oh, I'm just going to go get lost in the jungle for a minute. And it was the like, I vividly remember that more than most of my childhood experiences that I've forgotten over the years, because it's just it had such a profound effect on me. Like seeing iguanas in the wild in Costa Rica, seeing toads, massive toads, seeing, you know, all the little crabs and the birds, and seeing a sloth outside my, you know, the little hostel we stayed at. And
dude.
I didn't know I didn't know what a cell phone was then. I didn't know what the internet was then. I knew what animals were. You know, I was interested in snakes at the time, and it was just, you know, I think when you're young and naive, you don't appreciate it. When you're older, you see so much more value in that, especially if you've, you know, enveloped yourself in animals, and you have that appreciation for it. And, you know, now more than ever with the craziness of the world, there's nothing better than being able to go out somewhere, you know, pretty wild and just turn your phone off and just recharge.
I'm really hoping. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I really hope the world gets to a place here where Zach can do his South America trip next year, because I would kill to tag along, go to Paraguay with him.
I think it'll happen. California is opening everything up next month, it's looking like. So I think we're getting there. I think international travel is feasible, you know, potentially even by the end of this year, but definitely next year.
Hopefully. That would be so cool to get down there with him and go find falsies. Like, that would be unreal. Get in the rainforest. But
I think, you know, I think another thing, and me and Keith sort of talk about this from time to time. It's just like, you know, now that we're getting older, there's a couple things that weigh on me. I wish I would have done this a long time ago, going on these trips and such. And number one is just, you know, hopefully I know this is crazy to say, but hopefully I'm around to keep continuing to do this and able to do this, and my health stays good so that I can do this. And, you know, because you have to worry about those kind of things, you know, God forbid something happens and you're not able to do it anymore. It's sort of depressing to think about. But the other part of it is that the environment and the animals, you know, you know, more and more cane toads and, you know, just, you know, all those kind of things that are, you know, the bushfires and all those things that, you know, long-term maybe can hurt your chances of seeing certain things in the wild. At least for me, it's in Australia, but it's across the world. You know, I mean, you know, Matt, he wants to go to Borneo and pretty much that's just been deforested, and it's
Yeah.
well, I guess that's good for short tails, right? That you go to those palm plantations, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You know?
that's the piece that keeps me up at night as a quote young person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like you know, you want to. I wish. I think I read some of these older books that cover Australian herps and stuff, and you know, they just talk about, you know, it being there a couple times and sort of not seeing reptiles running all over the place. You sort of, you know, and cane toads running everywhere. You're sort of, I don't know. It's
I think
the Great Barrier Reef too. That's one that I always dreamed of seeing, and I very literally
dead, right?
might not. Yeah, it's on its way.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, man.
I think the first time I experience a cane toad in the wild, in Australia, I'm gonna be so conflicted.
Yeah,
like
it's hard, man.
Mentally, I'm gonna want to stomp
you.
it. The other part of me is we're gonna want to respect it and leave it alone because it's a living thing.
Yeah, I've told the story before, but we were driving down Tully Gorge down the road, and like, you know, literally as the sun was coming down, the toads are coming out, and you know, I'm like, Rob's like, run it over. I'm just like, I can't, man. So I'm like dodging out of the way, and he's just like, what are you doing? You know, and
think of the roughies.
Yeah, he's sort of like, you know, and I understand where he's coming from 100%. You know, it's in the way he explained it to me. He's like, look, man, they're killing the native wildlife, the stuff you love, the stuff that you're so passionate about. And yes, it's not their fault. They were put there by people, but it doesn't change the fact that they're killing, you know, the native wildlife. And I don't know, man. It's just like, I don't know. It's such a hard thing to sort of just play. You know what I mean? It's like this battle that's in your personal being. It's like, no, I don't want to kill this animal, but at the same time, if that scrub python that I found 10 minutes later, you know, is going to try to eat it and it dies, well, what would I rather have alive? A scrub python. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you, Eric.
I think cane toads are beautiful, man. Like, there's something cool about seeing a big, impressive toad like that, for sure. Like, separate. But
they are in their own right a cool herp. It just sucks that we did what we did and put them in a position to be the antagonist of an entire continent's worth of biodiversity.
What's weird though, you know, like it's weird. Like I talk to certain people, and like they'll have not an issue, but like the struggle with like keeping them out of you know, the environment, you know. But like no problem with Burmese pythons hacking their heads off. Like it's just like, no, you know, like it's not a big deal. You know, I don't know. It's kind of strange how
it's double standards, man.
Us crazy monkeys operate.
Yeah, exactly. And nope, let's not even think about all the outdoor cats. Like, God forbid, feral cats.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Well, that's a global problem. I mean, if you think about how if you look at flyways and how the globe's flyways and you know, the migratory patterns of these birds, and then if you just look at the mass decrease in millions and millions of birds that aren't migrating and how much that's attributed to feral cats globally. So big problem.
I don't think it is at all a stretch to say that they're the most destructive invasive species on
second
the planet.
most,
like
second most behind
people.
Sure,
it's behind people. Absolutely.
But they are, they literally kill millions. And we've seen the video, that crazy backwoods Australia dude who lives out in his shanty with cat pelts everywhere. Dude whacks like 1,500 cats a year, just like he's badass, doing good things for that country, even though it's a tough thing to talk about, you know, because cats are relatable. I have a cat. We have cats, you know, so it's like,
I love them inside.
I
have a wildlife biologist friend who will not be named, who's like a really well-respected, you know, been in the business for decades. He whacks cats for sure. Like and anybody that loves, you know, the actual native biodiversity of their areas, like the cats are your enemy when they're running loose outdoors, feral, you know. But anyway.
And like with Australia, for me, the more and more that I the deeper and deeper I dive into just Australia in general, it's like, you know, I've been like really into like the Aboriginal stories. So I got like tons of books on like just learning the different Aboriginal stories and like how much they really understood about the environment and how in tune they were with the animals in that environment. Just amazes me, you know. I'm fascinated by that. And then just the whole environment in general, like how it plays off of each other, and birds and mammals and, you know, reptiles, and, you know, how the whole thing just works. And, you know, I don't know, it just amazes me, you know. So
yeah, it's a delicate web, and everything pushes and pulls on one another. When you remove pieces, stuff falls apart and starts getting crazy.
Yeah. And I think the biggest tragedy was when people decided they weren't part of that web anymore, and that they were in control of it rather than a piece of it.
Yeah. I mean, I was listening to the Snake Talk podcast that's hosted by the director or president of the Orion Society that does all the indigo conservation. And they had a gentleman on talking about giant tortoises, and just think about, you know, back in the 1800s when people were going on long voyages at sea, they just grabbed, you know, all these big tortoises off the Seychelles Islands, you know, had them hanging out on the ship until they needed to eat them. And, you know, they've depleted over 50% of the island's populations of these Galapagos and some of the other species. And imagine if that were snakes, or just the human devastation we do and just alter things. It's just wacky.
Yeah. It's so I guess my whole point of my soapbox with this is that, you know, if you're younger and you have the ability to do it, you know, take advantage of it before maybe it's gone or it's not the same as it was, you know, because the world's a big place and there's lots of shit to see, man. And you know, it's life changing to go somewhere else and see how other people live and how the environment works. And it really, I don't know, in a way, it kind of humbles you, you know. It's you sort of like living in your own little box, and then when you step outside of it, you're just like, wow, this is
more empathy for the other.
100%. Yeah, it's more perspective.
I just did the I don't know when it's going to air, but I did the Animals at Home podcast, and that was sort of the topic of how seeing herps that you have in captivity in the wild sort of changes your thought process and in keeping them in captivity. And it 100% does, man, you know. So whatever that herp, whether it's a North American herp, Australian herp, European, whatever it is, you know, if you have the opportunity, you should take advantage of it and go see that animal in the wild. It will really give you some huge insight into which again goes back to why we sort of want to do these documentary style you know videos of these herps, you know. So
absolutely.
That's like one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is once things lighten up and open up and the hysteria around COVID, you know, we kind of have a better understanding of how to operate safely. Like domestic travel is opening up. Like right now I can go to Vegas for $63 round trip, which is ridiculous. But just even being able to hop on a plane and go out in the Pine Barrens like that. I really want to do that. I really want to come out, fly out there and go herping out there with you guys and see timbers in the wild.
Well, that might, I might have some dates for you guys that you might have to check out, and we might have to see if that's the first one we can kind of do. It's in July sometime, but
okay.
Yeah.
Is that the Texas business?
Well, there's the Texas one, and then there's the one that's the Pine Barrens was the
okay.
Coming out this way, taking you up in PA to see some timbers, and I could take you down to Delaware, see some copperheads, and then going out to the Pine Barrens and hopefully finding some pine snakes.
Oh yeah.
That would be so cool.
Let's make Nipper jealous.
Yeah, man, he would lose his shit.
Yes, he would.
Oh, mate, you're killing me, mate.
I realize, you know, we always talk about the grass being greener on the other side, and as much as I would love to go see Australia, I do feel like, you know, it's almost like like a duty to see something in your own native, you know, and appreciate it. Like I've gone herping out here and I've seen rattlesnakes and king snakes and gopher snakes and this and that, but I haven't seen everything. And I would love to, you know, go back to Utah for more of a herping adventure. I would love to go to Arizona for herping and Florida for herping and not just work, and go, you know, up to the Northeast and the, you know, there's so much to see. Like I would love to go see the Narcissus snake dens where all the garter snakes ball up in what is that, Minnesota or whatever. I would love to see that. Like it would just, there's so much to see here in the United States before you even like look at, you know, Australia and everywhere else. But
yeah, no doubt.
100%. You know, well, when we finished up recording the first episode of the Field Herp podcast, and I got to talk to Scott Eiper about some of the unfortunate mishaps that he's had in the again, why we picked this for the first episode, I don't know, but you know, it is what it is. But you know, one of the things that he was talking about when we were having the conversation was just the idea of Snake Road, right? He's like, you guys in the States have this road where they close down traffic and they don't let anything, and these snakes migrate from the mountains to the forest, and then when, you know, the time of year when it's the fall, they go back and they migrate back, and you're just seeing all these species.
That would be so cool.
You know what I mean? It's just like when you think about it that way, you're sort of like, huh. And that's like what? I don't know. It's probably like 10 hours, 12 hours away from me or something.
Yeah,
like
I've seen
like,
people post YouTube videos of that, and it's amazing how much they find out there. I just, you know, the more videos I watch of NKF herping, that really, you know, fuels that fire. But dude, it's just, it would seem exotic because it's not in my backyard here. Like I would still have to get on a plane and take myself out of the normal and go to the other. And that would seem exotic in its own right. I would absolutely love to see all of our native rattlesnakes. We're just I think we're so spoiled to have Crotalus and Cistrus and all of that in this continent. We're just very blessed. So they're amazing snakes.
We have such a variety of species, you know,
all the rat snakes, dude, we have
snakes,
we have freaking boas
snakes.
We have boas, we have colubrids, we have aquatics, we have terrestrial, we have mountainous, shit, dude, there's even Calabar burrowing pythons, the Mexican, like we have pythons, boas, and colubrids all in one continent. Not many boas and not many pythons, but they're there.
Yeah, man. Sure. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, you know, you know, herping in the US obviously has sort of been the go-to because of not being able to go to Australia. But it really, I've said this multiple times, but it really does. It's not that it's weird with native herps. I've sort of like, I tick my, the bug, if you will, or that drive to sort of want to work with these different species and such, and sort of like filter it into finding them in the wild and appreciating them in the wild, you know, like not having to have everything, you know, even though our brains are sort of operate that way, but realizing that, you know, you can go into the wild and appreciate something that that you have in your native habitat. And you know, like for me, like DK snakes, right? It's just when I was a kid, man, that was like, you would find a DK snake and you would be like, oh, this is bullshit. But you know, today I'm like, I got boards all out in my backyard, so that I'm hoping that I just find one of these things just because I have a whole new appreciation for it, you know?
Yeah. Every time I think I should get king snakes, I stop myself and I'm like, no, I could drive 10 minutes up the road and go flip logs and find king snakes. I don't need them in my room. It's okay. Like
100%. Yeah.
The constant struggle.
Yeah,
man. But then, you know, some of these I like mountain king snakes, man. To me, that's just like, holy shit, man. You know, come on.
The colors, it's incredible. I want to find an indigo in the wild. That would be
That'd be nuts. That would just be freaking impressive, man.
Yeah. Just a big
just an
diurnal hunter
predator.
Exactly.
That's an apex predator that still lives in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the same level of importance and rarity in an ecosystem as a freaking lion. You know what I mean? Like that's what those animals represent, is like the top tier predator within their niche. And it's just amazing how we've completely screwed all that up in this country. And so much and we have to spend billions of dollars to try and, keep it alive. It's just, it's nuts.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, the one thing, Keith, in our chat with Keith this morning, he was sort of talking about how colubrids are such savage feeders, man, compared to like to boids. It's like, and I think about the stories of you and Owen talking about these Caribos just like, like savagely eating stuff, you know what I mean? And like in the wild, they're eating things that are still alive. They sort of bash it against something and just swallow it down. And it's kind of crazy how different they are.
Things. Yeah. It's amazing to watch. Yeah. I think that's part of why I can't keep only one species, because everything has something unique like that.
What did Zach keep saying in that episode? Like 2,600 species. They all eat different. Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. The dipsadded colubrids are going to be different from, everything else.
Yeah. Watching a bull snake crush a rat and then slap you in the face with his tail as he runs away from you is just profound. It's very profound.
Yeah, that episode with Zach, man, that
was a great listen.
Oh, dude, man,
I'm going to listen to it so many times because there's too much. There's too much good stuff.
There's so much information in that, man.
You know what I was really curious about in that one that you guys sort of touched on was again with how the digestive system works and how you got to let it reset and come back down before doing that again, but at different stages of life. Neonatal, juvenile, adult, geriatric, how it can vary. I was hoping he would maybe, if he knew, elaborate further on like, it's okay to feed at a more frequent rate when they're in this growing juvenile stage, and then maybe elaborate on the winter seasonality with them and how it affects them versus some of the older snakes that need more time to reset and less food and just at different stages, because we always talk about cycle feeding and feeding sparingly. And I'm always curious, once somebody has that in-depth of a knowledge of the biology of digestion, what we should be doing at these different stages. Is it okay to be feeding weekly, or is that still too much, or is 2 weeks enough, or, obviously species dependent, but
right.
Yeah, I was thinking.
And I would say too, like how you keep dependent as well, right? In terms of just like exercise level and how that will impact the metabolism. Like there's so many variables. I feel like it must be difficult for people with that knowledge set to prescribe like a set thing, right? Because like it's probably completely dependent on that one-on-one basis. But it's such an interesting.
What did you get out of that portion of it most, Eric? Like, what was your takeaway on, like, did that change your perspective on how you plan to feed your collection moving forward? I know you've already sort of had this policy of, less frequently, bigger meals, seasonal variation.
The one aspect of this, and this has sort of has me thinking ever since we went to Texas with Justin, and we were having a conversation about cycle feeding and all this, and how it sort of ties into the adult version of what we're working with, but really trying to figure out, should that apply to the babies and the juveniles that are coming up? And one of the things that he hit on that sort of stuck out in my head was the fact that when they're that size, they're sort of applying all those calories to growth. So are they eating more frequently? Are they able to, because they're eating, say, skinks and things like this, that the prey availability might be more abundant, or, I don't know. It just sort of, again, sort of like your brain goes in all these different directions when you're sort of thinking, but I don't know. That's sort of my thought. It's like, just, is it right to sort of cycle feed the babies and the offspring and all those kind of things? And Does it hurt or help? I think the other thing that I sort of was like was kind of interested in is, and we sort of hit on this, but I sort of had to go back and listen to it again to sort of like take in what he was saying, because when you're doing the podcast is different than when you're listening to the podcast. But just the idea of we see these speaking Morelia, well, sort of Morelia, but carpets and scrubs and stuff where they're taking down these huge meals. Is this a part of, like, are they designed to do this specifically, and this is how they should eat? Or is it just a matter of this is the opportunity that came along and they took it and they are able to take down these bigger meals,
Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that part was interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there certainly is going to be an abundance of the little stuff, right? Like like you said on the show, when you were in Australia, you saw little skinks and lizards and geckos everywhere, right? So maybe that level of abundance does lend itself to younger animals eating more often until they outgrow that prey, right? Maybe they are eating more closely to like an every week or two because they can. And then, maybe for those bigger animals, like I would think that there's an abundance of the little stuff in terms of prey, probably not as much in the middle.
Right.
And then all the stuff that made it to adulthood being big in terms of prey items, right? Like there's probably the least amount, I would assume, in terms of biomass is the prey in the middle. There's probably a lot of small, and then there's a lot of big because they made it. Right. So from that perspective, maybe it really does make sense that they would be forced to take the big stuff, just because you're going to run into those more often than, say, a juvenile of wallaby or whatever we're talking about here,
Right. And I think sort of our impression of baby snakes and how to take, again, talking python specifically, because as he said, there's 27 tons. But python specifically, right? That so a couple things, like way back when we had Sean Christian on the show, one of the things that stood out from that conversation was the fact that he said, he just brought up in conversation, he says, isn't it interesting that, like, when you give your carpet a meal that's just a little bit bigger, like, it's almost like, ooh, that was a tough meal to take down, but they instantly grow from that. It's like instantly, it's just like size is put on. And sometimes if you're not pushing them like that, that they're not going to grow or whatever. But then I think about our hobby and how we're sort of focused on the breeding part of it. So are we doing that to get that animal to a size at a certain age so that it can breed and turn around? So your investment and, all those kind of mindsets, is that playing a part in that thinking? I don't know, man. It's definitely interesting for sure. And to me, that's what I geek out more about, trying to figure that out. But nobody's done a study on baby carpet pythons in the wild,
Right.
So nobody knows, it's
because like we've talked about, how would you, like you can't just track, follow them around all day. That won't work. So
it's hard enough doing that for adult snakes.
Without being present enough to alter their behavior because you're chasing them around.
Yeah. And it's the only information that I have on that is when we were chatting with Gavin Bedford, and he was saying about how the big adult carpets, Darwin carpets, are up in the tree, like high up in the canopy, and then the babies are more in line in the bush area, like they're down low. So they're definitely feeding on those geckos and skinks and frogs and whatever else is hops in front of them, I guess, or runs in front of them.
And I wonder too, there was that paper, I think I mentioned it last week, about monitors in Australia as ecosystem engineers, and there was one data that they put out there that in like one single monitor burrow they found over 700 individual species, animals from like 60 different species or something like that.
Wow.
It was like an astonishing number.
Wow.
And there are certain species that will nest in those burrows, you know, in terms of pythons. So I wonder if those baby pythons just pick off everything that's living in the monitor burrow, you know,
Could be.
like
Yeah,
what's
sure.
they might not even have to come above ground for a period of time, you know, who knows?
Yeah.
So just a thought there.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, there's so much more to learn.
Yeah. I think about this sort of stuff and how it relates to the longevity of our animals and what the, you know, the prescribed method and rate of feeding is healthy or not, you know, and how that varies for individual and species and age now. You know, I'm always worried about overfeeding snakes. I've definitely changed the way I feed snakes now versus how I fed them 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
Sure.
And so I listened to that part, and I was just trying to sequester as much as possible to sort of dictate for me whether or not I felt what I was doing was right. And, you know, basically what I got out of it was, you know, feed less, feed bigger meals, but babies, you could still feed a little bit more frequently, but, you know, slow and low, probably spreading it out a little bit more, but doing a big meal seems to be a little more natural for them.
Right.
You know, and obviously you guys talked about it. Baby carpets can take a freaking hopper mouse, which is a big meal. And instead of, you know, them eating skinks frequently, if we're giving them a hopper mouse, we probably should even spread it out for them. You know, one thing I've adopted is I notice how long it takes for snakes at different stages based on what they're eating to have a bowel movement, how many meals they have in between shed cycles. And you can kind of tell, like, when you're overdoing it and when you could actually maybe feed more. And I've just adopted, like, the only snakes that get fed weekly are colubrids, and that's it, period. Like, not even baby pythons. Like,
Same.
Just 2 weeks is the most frequently I want to even feed, you know, a hatchling carpet, even if it isn't like a big meal. Like, you know, we talk about how those small, like, fuzzies and hoppers don't have a lot of substance to them, and there's a lot of water weight and roughage and things that crap out. But you know, after listening to Dr. Loafman talk about just the amount of stress and everything even a meal puts on them, I don't know.
No,
I feel like
100%.
a week is too much.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Like, the falsies are the only thing that I'll feed at that frequency. And like that, even just that episode, even more so made me want to only feed my blackheads like 90% quail, and then maybe like some mice, maybe a rat once a year or something, you know, like, I'm with you, man. Yeah.
Ryan had said, so do you think we should have a taller, more vertical cage for species like Harrisoni and variegata with adults living such a boreal lifestyle? I can't really speak to the Harrisoni side of it, but with variegata, Darwin carpets, 100%, man, 100%. Yeah. My adults are going to have taller cages rather than anything else because you know, talking to Gavin, seeing them in the wild, they're 100% staying in the trees. You know, I would venture to say that a lot of carpets benefit from that, from trees, because, you know, you think about their environment. The more and more I look at their environment, where they're from, where they're being found, where they're hanging out, and basically it's always around trees. You know, they're a forest type of snake. You know, they're living in these forests, they're staying by these water courses, and, you know, they're taking advantage of the prey items that are coming to sort of hang out. When they're found in houses, they're found in, you know, sheds up in the roof, you know. So to me, it's always like they're sort of trying to stay up, you know.
Yeah. So I would love to have everything in like Python Pete style cages where you've got a bedding trough on the bottom for a good floor plan, but it's vertical with a basking spot, some shelves, some perches, a ground hide, water, but like more vertical space. I think that would be pretty cool. I think as time goes on, like, yeah, we acknowledge carpets can breed in racks and they don't necessarily need to climb, but when you see how some of these move, like Darwin's in particular, the way they move, their ventral scales are much narrower, and their body section, they just seem to really like physically look like they're looking for some sort of perch to drape on or hang on as they're moving. So, you know, who knows? Maybe that's why I'm not getting any luck breeding Darwins is because I'm not giving them arboreal stuff. I mean, who knows?
You know, and that was funny when they first came into the States. I remember talking with Balin. I remember talking to a few people that sort of had the albino stuff and whatnot, and said that they had a hard time breeding them. And you know, talking to Australians, they were saying like they don't understand why we're having such a hard time breeding them. So I don't know if at the time, you know, our keeping was different than you know, say what Australia was doing. Maybe they were keeping more naturalistic type of enclosures, which means that maybe they were afforded that that ability to perch high up. Maybe it makes them feel secure. Maybe it helps with stress. You know, I don't know. But I noticed more than it's odd, right? When, and this was another thing I talked about on the Animals at Home podcast, was the fact that I think in the early days for me, when it was like learning how to keep carpets and stuff, the idea is that the first idea that I saw was the shelf, right? And I think that, you know, a lot of people would go back and forth. Some said that they didn't use the shelf. Some said that they did use the shelf. It was kind of like this, you know, well, we're just going to offer it to them and maybe they'll use it, maybe they won't. And then the other version of trying to make their enclosures more arboreal would be like chondro style perches. But I think, and I don't know if we talked about this before, but I think that they're more of a tree boa type of snake, where they're sort of like many points, you know, they need a bunch of points that their coils are laid on. They're not going chondro style where they're just perching like this.
Right. More of a drape.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. 100%. So, you know.
Yeah,
I want to go with Dave Kendrick and try to find Sasquatch for sure. 100%. 100%.
Maybe you can get some pictures that are as good as the
bring them back for Owen
pictures or Patamelon pictures or whatever.
Nice. Nice.
So, but what's Craig say about IJs? Let's see. I provide all of my IJs the opportunity to climb, and they spend 90% of their time perched. Yeah, I would imagine it would be the same, which is maybe why they're always in the water bowls. You know, maybe because we're not offering them the perches that they're looking for. They're sort of, I don't know. I always kind of felt that, like, after talking to people about it that keep them, the reason that they're doing that is maybe it's their form of a hide box or something. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's how they feel like I'm just sort of waiting here. Nobody can see me in the water type of deal. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opinion that if you have the ability to offer it, you should. And pretty much anything that we keep will take advantage of that kind of space in these boxes. Like Francis Pringle, what's it called? The Other Buddy or whatever. He posted his new cage and his blackheads were on the shelf, right? And he was like, they're always on the shelf. And you know, that just makes sense. You give them the opportunity. It's not like it's 20 feet in the air, you know, you're just extending their floor space. Any exercise is good exercise. And, you know, I know too, when my female blackhead was smaller, she would chondro perch on the wire from the radiant heat panel. Like if they can, they will. And I think it's only a good thing. So with the 6 foot cages that I'm waiting on, I got shelves. And I fully expect the big Bruttles pythons to utilize them. But, you know, why not? If you can, why not?
Yeah, man. Yeah. So
my citrus tiger isn't currently trying to use the light as a shelf.
Yeah, exactly.
That sounds about right.
Not happy. Not happy.
How's that Velcro holding up?
It's not.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. That's great. So, I wanted to circle back to this one. Johnny had put, if you could observe any species naturally in the wild, what would it be? His was the blue banded sea crate or rough scales.
I'm thinking, I'm cooking on that.
Yeah. It's a hard one, right?
It's a toss up for me between like a Bredli in the wild, or a Woma, just because of the rarity of finding Womas. And maybe one of those eastern Womas in a tree with a beardy hanging out of its mouth. How about that?
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would love to see them digging, and man, that would be really cool.
There is certainly a sand substrate woman enclosure in my future. Like I don't have it together yet, but I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been starting to sort of, uh-oh, Riley's getting snakes.
I think he's trying to save his lights, maybe.
Oh.
Sorry. Had to address that.
Okay.
She's unplugging lights, pissing me off. She's supposed to be in her nest box being gravid and working on that. And here she is gallivanting around like a hooligan.
Son of a bitch.
Who does she think she is?
A snake or
She's got
something?
a lot of nerve.
Yeah.
Chris had also said that real quick. He said that he sets up his cages 3 feet by 18 by 15 for his yearling subadults, and he has a variety of ledges and tubes and all that stuff. And basically, he rarely sees them on the ground. So, yeah.
I think when you give them stuff, they use it for sure.
Yeah.
I would love to have, I think we've talked about it before, have a system or a room or facility set up where, newborn babies, they go through the process of going in a 6-quart tub, then going into a subadult enclosure with shelf hide kind of glass front deal. And then there's adult cages. And that way only babies are brought up in racks. Theoretically, I would love to see them more now that I have these with lights. It's just so much nicer. And then, change how I keep over the years and try and give them more options.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm working towards that goal, 1 cage at a time, it's like just baby steps.
and that's sort of the thing. Like, I guess like, for us that are sort of have been in the hobby as opposed to sort of this, as we move away from this sort of sterile type of environment that we're providing, if you will. But like, number one, it doesn't necessarily have to be, it doesn't have to look like the outback of Australia. I mean, you can sort of get the same, give the snake the same things without necessarily, having to go that route. But, to try to change it, just like, change all your snakes at one snap of the finger is like, it's very realistic, very difficult and very expensive, So
you got to go buy replacement enclosures in order to get rid of the ones that you're trying to phase out, and that's expensive. And then you have to do the logistics of the space, Tetris, and everything.
Sure, yeah, man. And if you're gonna do it that route, you want to make sure that you're doing it 100%, so that like this is its enclosure for the rest of its life, type of deal. And again, it takes money and time and all that, but slowly but surely, switching over to that way is sort of, hopefully I have my own little piece of the outback here in my house in Pennsylvania. That's sort of the goal. So we'll see,
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, it would be ideal to be able to keep everything in the perfect scenario. I think it's this like mental push and pull of like finding that balance, because I want to keep all of these things, but doing right by what I have, and then landing somewhere in the middle, and then always adapting.
Yeah.
I think we're also very fortunate that our animals are flexible with how we, care for them, given the species dynamic ability to just adapt. So
for sure.
100%.
Morelia are the superior snake. Sorry. Just in general, if it starts with Morelia, it's better than everything else. No offense to the others, because we keep a lot of others, but there's a reason why carpets are, arboreal, semi-arboreal, terrestrial, caves, up in trees, flat cages, tall cages, whatever. They're just like, cool, we're good, warm, and fed.
That's why it makes it so hard to sort of figure out what do they really need, what do they really want, because they can just adapt and they're just cool, they're just like, okay, no place to go up, I'll stay right here on the ground.
That's fine. Don't worry about me.
Nowhere to hide, I'll just go underneath the paper.
And that's the thing, like they don't have predators. They don't have to go, hunt for food. It comes to them. So it's like, no wonder they're just like kind of rolling with the punches, because they don't have to do all that other stuff.
And that's another thing that I took from my conversation with Dr. Zach, right? Like remembering that, when we're keeping these animals in captivity, they're not necessarily using the same amount of calories because they are not running away from predators. They are not, constantly trying to find a place to stay warm, and they're not, all these things that we sort of, it's sort of like a human being, right? If you put us in the wild, right, we're going to want to eat fat. We're going to want to eat sugar. We're going to want to eat these things for energy, for, and it's not necessarily going to equate to bad health, if you will. I mean, obviously you're not getting cheeseburgers in the wild, but you know what I mean?
Like, you crave that stuff because caveman version,
you need those calories.
Needed to capitalize on every hunter gatherer. Exactly.
100%,
Yeah.
And it's weird how our bodies are sort of made to, like, okay, if how we eat, sort of like your metabolism changes based on that, and like you'll either store food, calories, or you'll burn them. It's kind of crazy, but
yeah. And like you said, those stress hormones, that corticosterone, like that's very taxing. That does directly affect body condition, and how many calories you're burning. So lazy, comfortable snakes, like with nothing to fear. It's a different story than what's out there, for sure.
We've made the Australian snakes Americans.
Yeah, damn it. This one just petitioned. It said, "Yeah, try to take my hide. I dare you. Come take it."
Over my bloody hand, dead hand body. Oh my goodness.
I need better ways to mount these goddamn lights. This fucking son of a
crazy glue? I don't know.
Oh, tried it. Doesn't hold.
Really?
Tried Velcro. I'm trying tape. This is not working.
They don't screw? No?
No. These don't have any. I don't have anything to zip tie it to.
Oh, yeah.
Drill some holes in the top and zip it? No?
I got cages on top.
Right. Oh. Yeah.
Just gonna need to talk some sense into this girl. Tell her to go focus on laying her freaking eggs instead of climbing on the goddamn lights.
Goodness. That must be an EB Morelia snake. You can't get the shit together.
It is.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, speaking of the eggs,
it's her telling me she wants a freaking perch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as we sit here and talk about perching.
Yeah, or it's just because, you know what it is? It's because they're warm. They put out some warmth, so I think she's checking them out and going up there. And then, I don't know. Maybe I'll just move her nest box over onto the heat a little more, and then she'll be comfortable.
Yeah.
She hasn't been moving that nest box like some of my other snakes have in the past. She just like took it where I left and was like, okay, I go here.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna say only 2 more days of Breadly coolant. Damn it. Breadly coolant.
Lose so points exciting. There. Yeah. Only a couple more days of moving them into the bathroom, and then get to finally start feeding and pairing.
Just a couple weeks off from
the
promised land.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'll be nice.
Hey,
Justin called us gentlemen loosely, and that's probably because I'm over here screwing this thing up.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
We're winging it. So, but Breadly will be interesting. I keep forgetting that I still have to work on that pairing. The season isn't over as far as pairing goes because I'm pretty much done pairing stuff. Everything's kind of done or not going at all, sort of thing at this point. But then I forget my spring breeders. This will be my first year doing that. So.
Yeah, this is a weird season for me, man, because I'm doing diamond pythons. So like tomorrow, I'm going to feed them for the first time and then introduce them this weekend and see what's what. So
awesome.
Fingers crossed.
Exciting. That's really exciting.
Some cool diamonds.
Heck yeah.
Fingers crossed. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Get some video if they do any cool courtship stuff.
Hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like when I do the first time breeding, I'm all, like I'm kind of nervous about it, man. I know it's weird, but like I'm just kind of like in my head about it, whereas like I've bred carpets for so many years now, it's sort of like just
Yeah.
But with this, it's kind of like something new, So
yeah,
something new, something different.
Said
Biologists say baby carpet python that is a good hunter will probably only get a skink every. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go.
Most
15 to 50
eat
days.
less often than that in the prey. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things are built for famine, feast, bust, boom. They just roll with it, man. They're the best.
Yep.
Until they climb on lights and threaten to break things and unplug cables and
it's just bullshit. Yeah.
Then you're just like, Berg! If I wanted kids running around and screwing up my shit, I would have had kids.
Right. That's right.
So,
but this Thursday, I'll mention this. We're going to have a live stream of NPR. We're talking to Mike from Mike's Monitors, and obviously we're going to get into going to do it live. It still will be on podcast form and all, but this Thursday will be live. So if you're interested in, have some questions about monitors, or, he deals with a lot of Australian monitors and such, but I'm looking forward to that. Should be cool. He has some really cool setups, like his, I think I have a picture of it somewhere, but hold on. I'll try to share it real quick. I guess as we're getting ready to close out, I think I sent it to Nipper. Let me see. Yeah, because I was asking him about. Oh, here it is. Okay. Share. Yeah, man.
Ooh. Wow. Look at that.
That's cool.
Very nice.
Those are sweet. Are those the Kimberleys?
Yeah. Yeah. They remind me so much of birds, man. They're long, it's just, they're like birds. It's so.
Yeah. That's a sweet build right there. That enclosure looks awesome.
See what I was talking about? Where that's exactly what, when Dr. Loafman was saying that about the baby carpets, that's the conversation that me and Justin had. And he sort of made me take a step back and say, yeah, I guess we don't know. We were sort of talking about that earlier, Justin, about how we were in Texas, we had that conversation. You're like, well, baby carpets really aren't studied in the wild. And I'm like, fair point. I will just shut up now and let the smart people talk. But
yeah, that one we might not know yet. It's probably speculative, huh?
Yeah. It's hard to know, so I don't know.
Dude,
he's back.
Oh, look, I see the snake. Is the snake on top of the light? No more light. Oh, that was great. Riley, can you move your camera? Can you get us closer? What's Oh, yeah. Right on cue.
Yeah.
She's literally just like, every day, I'm just gonna not work on eggs. I'm gonna unplug your shit. This bitch. Yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with that later. That
She's
takes
like,
2 hands.
You can't tell me where to perch.
What's that thing the cat people say? If I sits, I fits.
God damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
there you go.
There we go. Now she's unplugged it all. Look at her.
Well, now we know what your afternoon project is.
Yeah.
The big monkey god has turned off the sun. How dare he?
Well, I'm gonna fix this real quick if you guys want to start sending us on out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. Yeah. So we'll watch Riley fix stuff up, and we will end the show. So yeah, this Thursday we're going to be doing the broadcast. It's what is it? 7 p.m. Hold on, I'll find out exactly.
7 Eastern.
It is 8 p.m. Eastern time. So
excellent.
Yeah. So
that'll be a great episode. I'm excited to hear. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. So if you're into monitors and want to learn more, tune in. Help us ask the good questions and such. And it should be cool. The bald monkey cannot run the light in my world.
There, huh, Tony? Brutal.
Shots fired.
Yeah, there we go.
So what else do we got? For Trying to think. There's so many things. I can't
So many
remember it
things.
all
All
anymore.
right. So let's go with remember to check us out on Patreon. Remember to subscribe to the MPR Network YouTube channel here. Give this video a thumbs up. Much appreciated with that. The other shows on the network, Eric, you're good at this.
Carpet Cliff Notes, Colubrid Corner, Student of the Serpent, Carpets and Coffee. We got some herp history coming up. I got the natural history episode. I'm getting a lot of good feedback about the rough scale episode. So the next episode is black-headed python. So
I'm gonna have an excitement seizure.
Yeah. So we're working on that. We just finished up, hopefully by this weekend, the first episode of the Field Herping podcast will be up. Nipper is already at work on the second episode as I edit away on the first episode. So and then we got Humans of Herpticulture, who's going to be on next. You should get Justin on that. There you go.
I would love to talk to Justin.
Yeah, man. You got to get the other half of the carpet python.
You're right. Guys, yeah. Justin, I'll be in touch.
There you go.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Okay. So for me, you can find me at all the things, Centralian Exotics, www.centralianexotics.com. And Riley has got his hands full, but he's Riley's Reptiles on all the good things. And looks like he's getting it done. He might actually rejoin us, but
maybe. Oh, there you go. He's still mute. There he goes. He's back.
There we go.
Feel better
Riley,
now?
I just threw out your stuff a little bit, but do you want to throw out your stuff better?
I need a drink.
There you have it, folks.
Yeah. No, I don't. Goddamn snakes.
For us, MoreliaPythonRadio.com is the website. And if you want to send an email, send it to info@MoreliaPythonRadio.com. NPR Network on Facebook and Instagram. I am at EB Morelia on Facebook and Instagram. Owen is at Rogue _reptiles at Facebook and Instagram. Make sure I got that right. And Rob is at High Plains Herp on Instagram. Teespring Store, NPR Network. And then Riley is Riley's Reptiles, as the shirt says. Facebook and Instagram.
Working on making more of these, by the way. I had Andy revamp my the file and send it to me so I can eventually get off my butt and put those up there too. So
sweet.
Beautiful.
That's one day.
I think
that, if you would like to send Riley a drink to help with his sorrows, I'm sure you could DM him on Instagram.
Or if anybody has any good tricks to like properly mounting these lights in, because the way the holes are drilled, the cables, and it sits, like I can't glue them in, I can't Velcro them in. Tape clearly doesn't hold up the weight of a snake. So any good ideas, send them my way.
There you go.
Excellent.
Look, Justin is in. He's in. He's in there, Lucas.
Awesome. Let's do it. Yeah, we'll chat.
Can't
I gotta
wait
get
to
back
hear
on
that
my
episode.
horse.
Yeah. Cool.
All righty.
I guess that's it, right?
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Have a great day, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us, and
All right.
good times.
See ya.
Till next time.
All right. Later.